Hello and welcome to a brand new preview episode for Black on Black Cinema. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
All right, guys, we're back. This is a preview episode for episode 240, No Good Deed. This is the 2014 film starring Taraji P. Henson and Idris Elba. The logline for this is: an unstable escaped convict terrorizes a woman who is alone with her two children. I've not seen this. You have, Micah. You enjoyed this. You thought it was pretty fun.
I enjoyed it. It's been a very long time since I did see it. And I think I saw it in a theater.
I think you did.
With like-minded people.
That's good.
That's the best way to see these movies. Is just with people who are into it and like think that these movies are good. Right. But this actually is not like, this isn't like horrible, right? But it is a good time.
Okay, cool. Micah, it's just Micah and I this week, but Terrence and Tiara will be back soon enough. So at least Tiara will be on this episode. I'm not sure Terrence will be, unfortunately. Okay, so all that being said, let's talk about our random topic of this week. There are a couple of topics that people have sent over. Some of that is, we would talk about it here, but we're going to kind of spread that out onto our other show, The Nerdpocalypse, in reference to Oscar reactions and stuff like that. So check out The Nerdpocalypse this week. As we're going to talk about the award show anyway, so we'll discuss like the stuff with Angela Bassett and all that. But the topic that a lot of people have been asking us to talk about is the Chris Rock stand-up and our thoughts on his reaction to the Will Smith thing 1 year later. Micah, you didn't see this particular performance, but you saw this set right after, not too long after the infamous slap a year ago. How does this differ from the one you saw?
So he had this set, he had this hour, and my wife got us tickets because she likes Chris Rock also, and she knows that's my go-to date is a stand-up show at DC Improv or something like that, right? Like, so anytime a big comedian comes to town, we'll go check him out. So she got these tickets, and then the slap happened, and then immediately ticket prices quintupled. Like,
I'm sure they did.
Ridiculous. It was ridiculous. When we saw this set, it's an okay set, right? It's not classic, but I thought it was funny. But it's not, it's not, I think Tambourine was better.
I would agree with that.
In terms of the actual set, it's funny. I've seen people complain about a variety of things, one of which is like, oh man, I can't relate to Chris Rock's comedy anymore because he's too wealthy. And it's like, okay, but like every celebrity has more money than you.
Right, like what are you talking about?
Like almost every comedian has more money than you. And he's
any of the big ones definitely do. Like, come on,
right? And he's talking about things that, while I can't relate to having a daughter in Paris at a culinary school, I can relate to the stories that he's telling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look, I enjoyed the set. It's not the best, but I had a good time. I caught the second half of this special. So some of the differences. In the live show, he went in hard on Meghan Markle to the point where I was like, I mean, calm down, bro. Like,
what's she do to you?
Right. Like he did the joke about, what color's the baby? Like black people want to know what color the baby is.
I mean, I laughed.
I got a hearty chuckle out of that.
Yeah, because I know your personal story. That's why I burst out laughing watching that shit.
He went in a little hard on her though. All the stuff with the daughter is was the same. A lot of the set was pretty much the same, just with a couple of jokes kind of rearranged.
Okay.
And then we get to the Chris Rock. I mean, the Will Smith stuff. The Will Smith stuff, he barely touched on Will Smith, right? And it wasn't at the end. I think he basically just said, yeah, everybody saw what happened, and yeah, that shit hurt, but I'm not a victim. You ain't gonna see me on Gayle King or whatever, right? Because I'm not a victim. And he did the you don't fight in front of white people thing, but he didn't end with that. The Will Smith stuff was like in the middle, and that was it. And then he kept going. This special, the Netflix special, you could tell he was saving that shit.
He honed that shit for a year, like, because that shit to me, like, there's ups and downs to the entire set, but that was pretty much, when he got into that, he was pretty much flawless, and you could tell he was like, y'all been waiting to hear my thoughts, and I'm going to give it to you. Like, you could tell he was working on that material the hardest, and that may have actually caused the rest of the set to suffer, right? Because it's such a prominent thing to talk about. Like, he's got to nail that because everybody wants to hear what he has to say. Look, I thought the set was fine. I would agree with you. I think Tamarine's a little bit better. I think Tamarine, like, going back and seeing clips of that, and maybe this will work in the same way, but I doubt to the same effect. Tamarine, when you go back and watch it a second or third time, you're like, all right, I got the joke, but there's some underlying, like, kind of nuggets to what he's saying that I think, like, upon second or third watching, you're like, oh, okay, I really get it, right? Not that his comedy is complex, it's just that, like, my life kind of mirrors a little bit more to the things that you're saying, right? Like, as time goes on. And Rock is 58 at this point. So he's technically a generation ahead of us, right? But a lot of what he says and stuff like that, I can definitely relate to directly. What's interesting is I saw a criticism, which I found to be a funny one. They're like, oh, this is only, like, interesting to, like, basically Gen X and boomers. And I'm like, Chris Rock at the time of taping this is 57. Who is he supposed to be appealing to? Like, yeah, dude, he's almost 60.
Like, yeah, this is only appealing to people who grew up watching Chris Rock. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm not really sure what you want. Like, that's not really much of a criticism as it's just a statement of fact. Like, that's okay.
Right.
I think people often forget, and I'm not mad at the fact that people don't or remember this, or there's a level of, like, recency bias. But, like, Dave Chappelle was not always the top comedian in the world. Like, before there was Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock was the most popular comedian in the world. By far. Like, it wasn't even close. There was no one else even remotely on his level. Then Killing Me Softly came out, and then, like, Chappelle's rise was meteoric, right? And then once the Chappelle show happened, it was fucking off to the races. But, like, even Chris Rock had a sketch show. I didn't think it was, like, amazing, but even he had the same sort of trajectory, right? In a lot of ways. So, yeah, look, I liked it. I thought what he said about Smith was great. I thought him not holding back was great. I like the idea of, like, I'm not a victim. You're not going to see me on some show. I thought it was fucking hilarious. I like that he pointed out the thing that gets lost in this entire conversation, which is all of this isn't actually about Chris Rock as much as people want to make it about Chris Rock. Like, Will Smith didn't hit Chris Rock because something Chris Rock said. That's not why. Chris Rock was the victim of not a victim, but Chris Rock is on the receiving end of Will Smith's anger because everyone had been shitting on Will Smith on repeat for months. And it was just a moment of, like, it's literally a valve that open, and he was just like, you are the person in front of me, so this is a reason for me to pop off on you. Like there's a thing in Smith's book, apparently, where he talks about like being made fun of and like kind of treated like shit when he was younger, and he would get so angry that he would just sneak punch somebody in the face over nothing. It's the same exact thing. Like that's a thing that he did, right? And it's a thing that he clearly still does. He directs his anger at someone else, right? Someone, and like Chris Rock said, we are not the same fucking size. Like, and like that's another thing people miss. Like, yeah, when they're standing up there, they might seem like the same size from your perspective. He literally played Muhammad Ali. Like that's insane. That would be me trying to fight Will Smith. Like Will Smith is like well over 200 pounds. He's a big fucking guy, right? So I did appreciate him kind of bringing the conversation back to that, because I think people often forget that. Like, it wasn't really that Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett. That's not the real reason. He was mad because he got embarrassed by his wife, which is insane how that took place. And he got embarrassed because people kept calling him, like he said, and he was doing it for rhetorical flair, but kept calling him a bitch. They did. And that's gotta hurt you, dude. Like, it's gotta hurt that you are this beloved guy and you got embarrassed. And I'm sorry, looking at that video, if you watch that interview again, there's no way that he wanted to do that interview. It's clear that he didn't. It's clear that he was pressured to do that interview by his wife. Come on, let's talk about it. It's out there now. He didn't want to be on that fucking table. He wanted to be at that table telling the world that your wife is fucking your son's friend. It's one thing if she's fucking another adult. Like another, right. She's fucking Brad Pitt. You're like, I mean, fuck. Like, that's fucked up. Shit like that happens. But your son's friend, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing on a level that's not just your wife cheating on you. Like, that's way worse.
Look, you want to talk about stuff like that, but you don't. And I'm surprised. And that's what I'm very surprised by, because these people are not young people who, young people nowadays, like they grew up with social media. They understand, like it's just a thing for them. They put their stuff out there like that. These people didn't grow up with that, Like these people
they're in
are
their
from
50s, They're in their 50s,
right? They're in their 50s, man. Like these people grew up in a time where, like,
keep your business to yourself,
right? Where children were better seen and not heard. Right. So they're not used to. So they're not used to this. So, and I, quite frankly, like, I don't know, man. Look, I feel bad for Will Smith, right? But I don't feel bad that he got whatever, I don't necessarily feel bad about the whole Oscars thing, but I feel bad for the guy, man. Like he's going through some stuff, and I hope he, gets whatever he needs to. Chris Rock, look, I see people just going around saying that, like, he hates women, and I don't know if he hates women. If he does, I really hope he gets the help he needs. But I don't. That little innocuous G.I. Jane joke, like, nobody even remembers what the joke was.
No, it's not even that great of a joke. It's not even that mean
like,
of a joke.
That's what I'm more upset about regarding Chris Rock and the Oscars thing. It wasn't a funny joke.
He didn't write.
It wasn't
like he didn't write it.
Yeah. So you can tell. And
like, what kind of references that movie came out like 1992.
Right, I just look, man. I think Will Smith was wrong for the slap. Reports came out after the Chris Rock special that he was deeply hurt and he just wishes that we all can move on.
I bet he does.
Yeah, well, I think Chris Rock played it well. Yeah. He waited for the check to clear before he let the world know what he actually thought. I thought he delivered it in a funny way, in a scathing, like, classic 90s Chris Rock way.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm sorry, guys. You can call me problematic or whatever, but, like, I grew up listening to 80s and 90s stand-up comedy, And that stuff is fucking brutal, man. It
Yeah,
really
it
is. And I guess I'm used to it. I guess I'm desensitized to it. It's not about me. So,
right.
I'm not, so I don't feel that sensitive about it. Maybe if it was directed at me, I would feel some kind of way. But, and look, I got thin skin, but, at the same time, like, I know how to mask it, man. Like, I know how to, I know how to cope.
Yeah,
And some people don't.
Look, I loved there's a line that he says, and I think it will ring out in infamy for a very long time. Anytime anybody like goes back and watches that part of the set. She hurt him way more than he hurt me. And that's a great fucking line, man, because that is the important part. It wasn't about him. It never was. Like, I see people say, oh, he made the joke about Jada Pinkett because she, turned him down like in the 90s. You think that's the reason? That's not the reason they have an issue together. Like, the reason is because Jada Pinkett said that he should quit his job at hosting the Oscars when Will Smith's movie that didn't look very good didn't get nominated for Best Picture. That's why he was like, get the fuck out of here. That's a valid reason to say get the fuck out of here.
Did you see that movie Concussion?
Fuck no. No.
I saw it because,
your wife was like, we seeing this. This is black.
Yeah, we seeing this, right? Like, I'm just like Will Smith. I do whatever my wife tells me, even if I don't want to do it. And I'll sit there with tears in my eyes and a sad sack look on my face.
Across from a red table, watching this bullshit ass movie.
Watching Will Smith give the most horrific African accent I've ever heard.
Tell the truth.
And
that trailer really killed it for me. I was like, I'm good.
It's not a good movie, yo. It's not a good movie, and I don't know why Will Smith. Will Smith is a decent actor. He's a good actor. He won an Academy Award, for fuck's sakes. But like, I don't know why he feels the need to put on an accent to think, oh, well, this is going to get me my award. You know what I mean? It's like the whole like, you never go full,
quantum leap, right?
Right. So
you got to. By the way, you got to be old to know that reference. Like, you really, you got to be old to know.
And you got to have thick skin to like not get offended by it. You know what I mean?
Right. You're not making fun of people with downs.
Right. And you have to understand. You have to
context, man. Context is
you have to understand. You have to comprehend words and meanings in the context that they're in. Right. Like, you can't be triggered by like. And I'm not making fun of people who get triggered by different words and stuff. Like, I know that stuff is serious. I know it's real. Yeah. But you can't get triggered off of something with no context. Otherwise, you end up walking up on stage and smacking a guy 2 feet shorter than you.
Right. Like, look, I got to tell you, that is my. I have many pet peeves. That's my number one pet peeve. Saying things without context drives me crazy. Like, it drives me crazy. I'm like, if you remove context, even if you're stating facts, if you remove context, you might as well just be lying. Because you're basically lying by omission. It is the worst way of speaking. I cannot stand it. The other thing he says that I thought was pretty good that was not about the slap is his opening bit. And I know. I get it. And largely I agree that when I hear a comedian start talking about wokeism or whatever, or cancel culture, I'm like, here we fucking go. It's the same fucking analysis. But I do think there is a valid point that he makes. A lot of you are full of shit. And the name of the set is called Selective Outrage. And it's absolutely the part of like this new like weird I don't know if you want to call it cancel culture. I don't really give a fuck. The cancel culture is not really a thing as far as I'm concerned. But like, there's so much of people just being so selective in the things that they're mad about. Like, it's like, oh, I don't listen to R. Kelly's music, but I listen to, Michael Jackson's music or something. You know what I mean? It's like you pick and choose the shit that you're really mad about. And a lot of times it doesn't match up. So I don't actually think that this general statement of like, anytime somebody talks about how wokeism is a problem, they're full of shit. Not all the time. Like, we just talked about it on Look Forward, where that guy literally came up with it's like the most insane thing. So if you're not a premium listener to our political show, Look Forward, you should be. But we talk about this very fact that there was a guy who put out, and he was serious. He's like, I've never thought about, as I'm becoming more woke. He's like, I never thought, as a white guy, of course, right? Because look,
of course it is.
Look, this is how I know, like, criticisms of like whether or not being too woke is ridiculous. Yeah, because white people ruin shit. Like, they do. They go too fucking far, right? And this guy is like, as I'm getting more woke, I realize such violent rhetoric and violent language that we use in our everyday language, and, we should change it. And so he puts out a list of, like, things that we say, common sayings, that have, I guess, some sort of violent imagery, and then the suggestions of what we should say instead, right? Because he's now woke. He suggested that we shouldn't say, kill two birds with one stone. Instead, we should say, feed two birds with one scone. That's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous. To me, that is 100% a thing that you can make fun of and be like, see, this is like, you're being too stupid. Like, that's not a thing that needs to change. It doesn't do anything for society. No one thinks they're killing an actual set of birds with a stone. Like, you don't have to correct it. That's not what being woke is. But a lot of times, white people will take something like being woke that black people came up with and ruin it. And I think Rock's point about people being selectively outraged and being ridiculous about certain shit is valid to some extent. So I think I often see people go, you can't ever say, being too woke is ridiculous. No, sometimes you can. Not in the way that Republicans say it, like, you can't hire two black people at this job. That's not what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm talking about stupid shit like that. And like, that's valid because that somehow gets lumped in with, hey man, we should probably pay attention to the fact that the water supply in black areas in Michigan are poor versus the white areas. Right? Those are differences, right? But they all get lumped together, meaning that like the serious issues get pushed down and the dumb issues get leveled out. That's a problem.
Right.
And it's a real problem. So I do think he actually makes a good point there. But when I see people like blanket, like dismiss that, I actually don't think that's a good idea. I think you need to, much like everything else, you need to have nuance and you do need to have context of what people are talking about instead of just blanketly dismissing it. I think that's silly. So
I can't wait to live in a world where we can legitimately be upset at things like the lyrics to "Baby, It's Cold Outside," right? Like, remember that? Like, do you remember that?
No,
like,
that's every Christmas now.
Yeah. And
yeah, it's just a guy trying to coax a woman into his house. Like, they're like clearly dating, and he's like, hey, why don't you stay over? Right? Like,
right.
It's not a rape narrative, guys. It's not a rape.
It's flirty banter between two. He didn't just like Dean Martin didn't just pick up this woman off the street and black bag her and take her to his house.
Right. It's not a rape narrative.
I really gotta go. Like,
no, you don't. Like, all right, Dean. Like, Jesus. Like, it's not a rape narrative. There are far more important things in the world. Like, I was just listening to an interview with Dave Letterman, and he was like, yeah, he's got like. I didn't realize this, but like he suffers from clinical depression, right? And he was talking and he goes, yeah, but like I'm very wealthy. I don't have real problems. Like, it's just like, like, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, I've got issues in my own personal life, but I don't have real problems. He's like, stuff in America is like real problems. People can't eat and shit like that. Those are real problems. Baby, it's cold outside. It's not an actual real problem. This is not a thing we need to write an article about every Christmas. Just don't listen to the song if it bothers you. It's not that fucking serious. Like, but that's my point of when taking something that was very serious and important about being aware of issues in our community, and not even just in our community, by the way, like issues of like, treating women poorly, by the way, white, black, whatever, treating women poorly, treating other people of color poorly, treating black people poorly, our food systems and food access and water access and all these other things, and, school to prison pipeline. Those are all serious issues and valid issues. Baby, it's cold outside should not be put at the same fucking level as like, can my kid get fucking microscopes at their school? because they're a black kid in the middle of the city. They're not the same. And the problem is, and look, this is, again, because white people will latch on to something and center themselves at it. They have centered dumb shit because they have no natural predators into shit that is actually serious that we're trying to talk about. So no, I actually 100% agree with you. I reject that out of hand. It's not that bad. Just don't listen to the fucking song. Just don't listen to it. Come on, man. Do you think I saw daddy or I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus? Do you think that's about like it's secretly a conversation about divorce and cheating? No,
dude, and adultery.
It's not. It's not. No. Santa Claus is the dad. It's the dad. Relax. Who cares? Right? Like, it's not that fucking serious. Everything old is not terrible. I mean,
but the child is witnessing two adults have sex, and we can't.
Right? Like, relax.
The child.
Like,
really calm down. Yeah.
Relax. Like, it's gonna be all right, guys. It's gonna be all right. Just stop censoring bullshit at the same level of serious things, because it's like calling everything racist. Like, or when you do that, you diminish actual serious things. So you could be like, hey man, I think that sounds a little weird, and you'd be like, all right, cool. I'm just not gonna put that on the old playlist. Look, you want to fix this issue? Let me fix it for you. Go on to Spotify or Apple Music when it's Christmas time and do what black people do. Put on black Christmas music. It's better.
There you go.
There you go. You're welcome. I just solved this major issue for white people that apparently this song is destroying your lives. Just turn on black music. The Temptations, they do great Christmas music. You'll be fine. You might even learn something. All right, so that is it for this preview episode for episode 240. No Good Deed. Look for that next week. We'll be back. If you have Stars, it's on there for free, but you can also rent it, or I'm sure you can find it in the $5 bin at Walmart. And we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye. You're watching the Black on Black Cinema YouTube channel. Make sure you check out our full reviews of black movies, past and present. And every other week, we do a preview episode where we talk about a random topic that affects the black community.